like I eat. Seriously, okay, I eat.
Okay guys, in this video we are going to review the Pedersoli 62 caliber or 20 gauge Flintlock Fowler. Now Pedersoli likes to market this as an Indian trade musket, but back in the day it would have only ever been known as a English Fowler or a Northwest trade gun. It does have the Serpent side plate, which the Native Americans would always request. As you can see there, right out of the box, it doesn't look very period correct, because here where there should be, where it should look just like this, it's filled in the middle here where they poured the cast and they make it look like waves or something. I don't know. Doesn't look very good. It's not period correct. I used a Dremel. I dremeled it out, made it look all pretty, and now it looks very period correct and different from all the other Pedersolis out there. So the first thing you notice when you take this gun out of the box is how extremely light it is. It weighs in at barely 6 pounds. It's an extremely light gun. I'm very surprised that it weighs that, considering it has a decently thick barrel and it is a full stocked in walnut Flintlock Fowler. So the stock is pretty thin though, and it's not so thin that I think it's gonna break, but as you can see here, it has some really nice lines to it, and it actually has a really nice drop to the stock for doing shotgun shooting or getting the barrel to line up with your eye. Really nice. There's a really nice comb, wrist, and drop in that stock. The lock is a very high quality lock, and most of my Pedersoli locks are that way. I've had no failure to fires with this one, and in my next video that I have coming up with it, the test for a good lock, a well-tuned lock, is if it can fire upside down. And the next time I get to take this out, I will be firing it upside down, so you guys can see what that's like. But again, it's a really great gun. Some of the features about it that you might want to know if you're interested in one is that the forward screw here on the side plate does not go all the way through to the lock. It is just a wood screw. It's just there to hold the side plate on. The lock is retained by a single screw here, but it actually, I was kind of nervous about that, but it holds it in there really good. I was afraid that the lock would be moving around too much and it might crack the mortise, which the engraving around the lock mortise is really nicely done. It has a really nice raised engraving here, and like I said, I was afraid that the movement from the lock snapping would eventually cause it to crack, but that doesn't look to be the case at all. The trigger guard, instead of just being brown steel, is case hardened and is very resistant to rust. Believe me, I know, because if it was going to rust it would have already now, because I have very sweaty hands. And it stood up very nicely. It looks very good against the rest of the gun, as you can see there. And like I said, I have nothing but good things to say about this gun. It's been excellent, extremely accurate at 25 yards, which is the longest distance that I've shot it so far. I'm going to be doing some 50-yard shooting here with it before long, but extremely accurate at 25 yards. It has a very nice vent hole liner that will bring the main powder charge right up close to the powder pan, and the ignition for it, even in slow motion, as you can see in some of my videos, is almost instant, even in slow motion, which is really hard to get with flintlocks. Now where the barrel is concerned, it has a brown octagon to round barrel with a semi-octagon transition, then a large wedding band, then a smaller wedding band, and then it's round the rest of the way out to the end of the barrel. And as you can see there, the barrel is decently thick and has a recessed crown. Now what I really like about it is the octagonal part of the barrel is higher up than the round part of the barrel, so it gives you a really nice flat sight plane here, and then you can't see the rest of the barrel all the way until you get to the front sight, which is really easy to see. So, and another nice thing about the barrel is it doesn't have just the standard vent hole where it just goes through into the barrel and then it hits the main powder charge right here. There's actually a cavity where your main charge will travel through here into a secondary cavity where it will light a little bit of gunpowder and send it straight up through another vent hole that is right here, where it will then ignite the main charge. And not only is it very quick, but I think you get a little bit more velocity, probably a little bit better accuracy, because the main charge is being hit from the rear and not from the side. I also noticed you get a lot less spray out of the vent on this side doing that way, probably because the main charge, a lot of the force is hitting the walls inside here and not being forced back out through the vent hole like it would in a normal flintlock. So here we are back at the lock again. Very high quality lock, probably a 6-pound or less trigger brake, which for flintlocks that have really big mainsprings, that's good. And the cock moves from, you know, decock to half cock to full cock very, very smooth. I can manipulate it with one hand. The frizzen moves around very, very smooth. You know, it just snaps just like a custom gun. Everything about it is very smooth. There are not a lot of flintlocks out there that aren't fully custom that you can manipulate with your offhand like that, not holding the gun. That's just the way of it. So all in all, I'm very, very impressed with it. I really like it. Let's take a look at the inside of the lock mechanism so you guys can see what you're dealing with there. So here we have the lock out of the gun, and my camera is not going to do this justice, but as you can see, the mainspring there is really, really thick. However, it is not overly hard and is very smooth. So as long as you keep a good amount of oil on that thing, it is never going to break. The inside of the lock, again, very high quality. The trigger sear, tumbler, trigger spring, all perfect in my opinion. Like I was saying, a 5 to 6 pound trigger pull on it, maximum. However, there is no trigger creep in it at all. The brake is extremely crisp, and because of the size of the trigger, I don't know if you can see there, it really feels good. It's not like a match rifle, but this is a Fowler you're going to be walking through the woods with, and I think it's perfect for what it is. You know, if you're target shooting, you're not going to be using this gun anyway unless you're doing target shooting with a smoothbore, and most smoothbore target guns don't even have set triggers. So for what it is, I think it's perfect. I wouldn't change it a bit. Also, while we're right here, you can see again the mortise is perfect. It's engraved out of the stock perfectly. They left plenty of wood here to absorb shock, and it just looks great. The lock fits in it like a glove. Okay, so now that we've got the lock back in stock, if any of you guys are thinking about getting this, I would highly recommend you get it in kit form. It's a little less expensive, and you can kind of finish it the way you want it, and the kits are really easy to do. You are going to have to remove a lot of wood from it. It comes overly thick like a musket, but I don't know if I said this earlier, this isn't a musket, this is a fowling piece. The stock doesn't need to be overly thick. In fact, you want it to be light because you want to be able to carry it and not get tired. This gun weighs in right at 6 pounds. It is extremely light. It has a 36-inch barrel, which makes it not the longest fowling piece out there, but it's definitely not short either. So, but however, that being said, my wife, who usually has problems with the longer muskets, getting them held up, can hold this one up and lean into it and not have to lean back. She's very comfortable with it. So I'll give you a view of the sight picture here, as good a view as I can anyway, with my crappy camera. So let's see. As you can see though, you can see what I'm talking about that sight plane there, with the flat of the barrel, and you know, times this by like 1,000 because of how crappy my camera is, but it's really nice sight. Another thing I really like about Pedersolis in general, and why I have this pistol out here, is for demonstration on the barrel thickness. I really like how Pedersoli barrels are built very, very hardily. So I'm going to remove the lock here, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. And another thing while we're right here is you can see the mortise on the lock is just perfectly cut out. But anyway, that's not what we're going to look at. Let's take this barrel out by pushing this pin out here. And let's have a look. And I'll show you what I mean. And I would show you on this Indian trade musket, but it's too much of a hassle to take it out of the stock just for the sake of a review. And it looks exactly the same on this gun, except for just smaller. So, excuse me while I try to do this with one hand. This barrel is mated to the stock very tightly. But there, as you can see there, that tang and this breech is built really, really thick, which you don't see even in custom guns. Now some people, they don't like this. They think it's a lot of unnecessary weight, and you know, maybe it is, but for those of you who are into black powder and you're experienced with loading black powder, what this translates to is you can do hotter loads. So I'm not going to recommend that anybody does this, but again, you can do it if you know what you're doing. These things are built out of really high quality steel, and they're built really thick. So that is one thing that I've always really liked about them. And again, this Indian trade musket, its tang and barrel look just like this. I'm just not going to take the time to take it out of the stock. So the modifications that I've really done to this is I did tune the lock a little bit just because I'm really picky. You know, not anything that I think needs to be done. I'm just kind of OCD about it. It comes with a wooden ramrod, which most of you will promptly break. It's not made out of flexible enough wood. I think it's just leftover walnut, and walnut does not make very good ramrods. So you probably break it pretty promptly. So what I did is I called Mountain State Manufacturing's distributor, which is Kane West Outdoor, I believe, and I ordered a Mountain State Manufacturing flexible ramrod. I got it a little bit oversized. I asked for a 36-inch ramrod, and can't get this out with one hand, but for those of you who don't know, it looks just like wood, as you can see that there. However, it isn't. It's plastic. You can flex it, and it is not going to break, and you can really ram charges down with it even after the gun is pretty fouled because of how flexible it is. So they don't make one that is going to fit the ramrod pipes just perfect. I ordered this one slightly oversized, and then I just sanded it down with sandpaper, and then I went over it with some Scotch-Brite, and then after that I just wiped it down with lacquer thinner, and it went back to like it's from the factory, like it's never been touched. So I would highly recommend that. And then, of course, as I told you earlier, I did the modifications to the side plate there, and of course, as I said earlier also, I thinned the stock down quite a bit, because for me this is a gun that I'm going to be dragging around, and you know, it's nice to have a decent long gun that shoots a decent caliber that only weighs 6 pounds. My AR-15s haven't weighed 6 pounds in a long time, and I forgot how nice it is to have a 6-pound gun. So anyway, I'm probably forgetting something in this review. Anybody have any questions? There's the barrel again with the recessed crown. Feel free to comment or PM, and I will get to you as soon as possible. But I highly recommend the Pedersoli 62 caliber Indian trade musket. It is a very fine piece, and for anybody who wants to dog on production guns or Italian guns, Pedersoli does it right. And one of the best things about it is the availability of spare parts. Especially if you're just getting into black powder, you're sure to break something along the way, and being able to replace the parts in the lock for just a few dollars a part is really nice, and not something you're going to get if you buy a custom gun. They're going to have to custom make a part for you. It's not going to be cheap, whereas with the Pedersoli lock, a lot of people have it. It's a drop-in part. You don't have to mess with any custom fitting. Just all in all, a really nice gun. You do a little bit of work to it. It looks totally custom, and like I said, I got nothing but good things to say about it. So if you're interested in one, pick them up, because it's not like these things are getting any cheaper. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.